Business Day reporting this morning that Kuben Naidoo has now formally left the Reserve Bank and is no longer a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the bank. That means that the committee now only has 4 members. It's due to meet again in about 2 weeks' time to decide if the bank should cut or increase interest rates. So far, the presidency and government, as far as I know, have not yet announced a replacement for Naidoo. Ntando Thukwana is a journalist at the news agency Bloomberg. Ntando, good afternoon to you. So, Kuben Naidoo goes. Where does that leave the Monetary Policy Committee? It only has 4 members left.
Sure, and with 4 members left, that opens the door for the possibility of an evenly split vote by the remaining members of the Monetary Policy Committee. And in that instance, then it means that the governor, Lesetja, Kganyago, can actually intervene. He has the deciding votes, and he can vote to sway in a direction that he sees fit. So that's what the 4-member panel does to the committee.
Does it change the economic balance of the panel a little bit? And we talk about hawks and doves when it comes to interest rate policy. Hawks are people who like to keep interest rates a little high. They want to sort of really hit inflation hard. Doves are people who maybe like us a little bit more in Ntando. They want to give us a little bit of a breather. Naidoo was seen as what? A dove? Lesetja, Kganyago is a little bit of a hawk. Is this going to change the balance on the Monetary Policy Committee a bit?
It's a very difficult question to answer. Actually, Bloomberg doesn't actually pronounce on whether an MPC member is a dove or a hawk. But what you've seen is the different committee members respond to the current, risks and positives or negatives that are happening in the economy. So they don't have a specific tone that they carry out consistently, but it just depends on the data that they have in front of them that will determine at each time or at each meeting what tone they will carry out. But it's very difficult to actually say that, a particular member is a hawk or a dove.
And predicting decisions, is a mug's game, as we know. In terms of, there's another thing, and I don't even want to think about this possibility, and I really don't think it will happen. But what happens if one of the current 4 members of the Monetary Policy Committee falls ill or is unavoidably detained somewhere? Can't get back from Davos, there we go. What happens then? That's surely quite difficult. And I don't think that's ever happened before.
Yeah, our inquest hasn't led us to that point. But I guess, if the member is not available, then if the panel has to be 3 members next week and someone doesn't return from Davos, I guess it's going to be a 3-panel member, and there won't be an even split. It will be just a clear decision on whether rates are being hiked or are being held. We have not really gone that far.
And what happens now? We do need another member, maybe another 2 members of the Monetary Policy Committee, depending on what people at the Reserve Bank, people in, I suppose, the Presidency or the Treasury decide to do. Are we now waiting? Does the President get to nominate someone?
So the Presidency is actually the appointing authority for the governors and the actual governor, which is held by Lesetja Kganyago at the moment. And then Lesetja Kganyago would be the person that appoints the MPC members to his panel. The panel can be up to 7 people. Right now they have scope to appoint 3 more. And that process, last year at the last rates decision meeting, Lesetja Kganyago, the governor, did actually say that the bank had been on a long hunt to find people to bolster up its monetary policy committee, but hadn't been successful in that quest. So they are still trying to find members to fill up those vacancies in the panel.
It's a fascinating job. It's a very important job, obviously. And central bankers around the world, Ntando, inflation's still one of the big stories of the global economy. Different aspects of conflict around the world. For us, we think of Sudan, we think of Gaza, we think of Russia and Ukraine. It must be very difficult to make Monetary Policy Committee in this environment, almost wherever you are.
Well, yeah. In fact, yesterday, the governor, Lesetja Kganyago, was speaking on Bloomberg TV, basically saying that inflation has been stubbornly high and that to conquer it, they will have to keep rates higher for longer. In fact, he said that they are not convinced that inflation is, coming down sustainably, to the midpoint, which is 4.5, the midpoint of its target range, which is between 3% to 6%. They're not convinced that inflation is easing to that level, in a sustainable enough manner. So those are the kinds of things that the Reserve Bank is having to factor in its decision making, and it seems now that policy remains restrictive because they're not convinced that inflation is actually coming down to that 4.5 level.
Ntando Thukwana, thank you, journalist at the Bloomberg News Agency. Really do appreciate the time this afternoon.